primary ignition.
This is Star Wars.
Look out!
Core World News.
You may fire when ready.
From the bright center of the galaxy, I'm Greg Skondak, and you're listening to Core World News, your holiday news service providing in-depth coverage for the latest stories from around the galaxy. Now, here's a new segment rundown for April 29th, 2022. Reading Rathgar. But first, this news.
All right, thank you very much, Grex. That's what I am talking about. Let's go. We have an amazing episode this week. We're going to be talking about E.K. Johnston's Queen's Hope. That's going to be the main event. But first, we have news. A couple things have been leaking out from the upcoming May 26th Star Wars Celebration, which should be fantastic. We're hoping to cover that as well. And, we've been hurting for some new Star Wars gossip and all that. And Adam, I heard you've heard some things a little bit early coming out of that celebration. What do you got?
Yeah. So yesterday, apparently news organizations got access to the lineup for the panels at Star Wars Celebration. And I don't know, Star Wars just released that. StarWars.com released that today. So I don't know. It's one of those things of like, I don't know if they're planning on releasing it today, but as things started leaking out, they just were like, all right, everyone see it. But we can talk generally about what's going on at Star Wars Celebration. I personally think that the schedule they released is not necessarily representative of what's actually going to happen there because it's pretty light in a way. Like there's not any, we've covered Star Wars Celebration before and we've seen this list and we've gone through and it'd be like 13 things a day we'd want to talk about.
Right.
And now there's like a couple of things. It's very Attack of the Clones 20th anniversary heavy, which is awesome. It's amazing. Yeah, it is. It's very Mando heavy.
Great.
A lot of Dave Filoni. Like everything is special guest Dave Filoni. That man's not going to sleep for 3 days.
I mean, that's cool.
Yeah. But I think the thing that's making
Bad Batch season 2 confirmed.
Yeah. Yeah, there's something about Bad Batch season 2. It doesn't really say a lot. Hopefully we'll probably get a preview, I would guess, and a specific release date on that. I'm guessing sooner rather than later. I think it's going to be the surprise. By the way, this is coming a month type thing, like post. I'm guessing it's coming post Obi-Wan, whatever the one after Obi-Wan is.
Okay, so you're guessing right after or at some point after.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm guessing like summer is when they're going to do it. I think they're much further along than they've kind of let on. But on kind of related news, they released, and what really made waves, and they were like, I read like 10,000 word articles from one sentence. And the sentence is called the title of the panel, 2:30 to 3:30 on Saturday. So kind of the main day of it.
All right.
Is Tales of the Jedi. And here's the full description. Introducing Tales of the Jedi animated anthology shorts. And that's who it's hosted by. It's hosted by Amy Ratcliffe with special guest Dave Filoni. Yeah. So that's kind of what's been making the biggest waves is a new show alert, or new something alert. I'm not as convinced that this is an actual show, but we can talk a little more about that.
Yeah. Do we think that's High Republic related, or do we think that's going to encapsulate the entire history of the Jedi Order?
Well, that question made up the other 990 words I read in those articles.
Right. And, if it does, what's interesting is the Star Wars Rise of Skywalker visual dictionary did canonize some of the legends, Jedi and Sith of the past, of the ancient past. And so I'm wondering if they might just clear up the timeline a little bit in terms of showcasing certain events and certain rivalries and characters and heroic figures and tyrants and
right.
So just kind of canonize these stories within the Jedi lore and the histories of the Jedi. That might be fun as like sort of like info documentarian sort of look at the Jedi.
I love that idea. And Grant, so for other people and I don't know, me, there was a Tales of the Jedi comic, right, for a while in Legends. I'm not as familiar. Yes. I know you're a hardcore fan.
I am a diehard Tales of the Jedi fan. I collect the trade paperbacks. I read them a long time ago in the late 90s and early 2000s, obsessed over them. There's great dialogue, great characters. We travel all over the galaxy. The war is epic in scope. You've got Mandalorians, you've got Jedi, you've got Sith going at it. It's sort of this tri-pronged conflict. It's great. Like, I love those stories, and the Jedis in those stories are really fun, and they're battling between light and dark, and it's ancient. I mean, it's like 5,000 years before Battle of Yavin. I think it's like, or maybe it's 3,000 years before Battle of Yavin. It's ancient. It goes all the way back to the golden age of the Sith, and then it rises into the Sith War, and it just gets into a lot of really fun historical territory.
Oh, that sounds awesome.
I remember it very fondly. It's a little blurred in my mind because as I've talked to you two about, and I may have mentioned passingly on the show, that I, over a decade ago, started reading all of the Star Wars old EU in world chronological order.
That sounds like a small task.
Yeah, it's I'm 62 things away from finishing that task, which sounds like a lot, but a lot of those include issues of comics. So I'm about like 20 books away from, like, actual novels away from finishing it up. But that's one of the first things I read, because that's some of the earliest stuff in chronological order. But I remember that kind of got me pumped to do that, right? Like, I read those and like, this is great. And then, hundreds of material stuff later, and a decade passed, I don't remember any of it, but I remember enjoying it quite a bit.
So 5 millennia before the birth of Luke Skywalker and the fall of Palpatine's empire is the first, I believe, volume.
Millennia is 1,000 years, right?
Yeah, so that's 5,000 years, and so they cover some ancient context in terms of Jedi and Sith lore. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
This is something you've been asking for a long time, Grant. I know. And, getting that content there. And I mean, we saw the sort of episodic anthology short medium displayed with the recent, anime shorts?
Yeah, Visions.
And there's a season 2 confirmed for that. So I was wondering, could this have been misheard in terms of the kind of reporting?
I don't think so, because there's also on Sunday from 12:30 to 1:30 there's a segment for a look back at Star Wars Visions. So I'm guessing they'll kind of end that with and here's a look forward to season 2. That's my guess.
So it's a whole new thing.
Yeah, this is directly from the StarWars.com, what I just read you. And I feel like the thing, I think that's the shorts and the anthology part that remind me of Visions, and also those Visions of Destiny, and even the Tartakovsky original run on Clone Wars. I think that's probably what we're going to get. And so it sounds exciting. Part of me is a little keeping my expectations lowered about how much lore building we're going to get, as opposed to drop in, here's a quick 7-minute quick action story about, which is fine if that's what we get. And especially if they're going to tell it from all over, including ancient history, Jedi, all the way through, would be so much fun.
That would be so much fun. I mean, that was the cool thing about Visions, was that it was timeless. It was just like, don't worry about the timeline. Like, it was a story and it happened. It was cool. But if they did sort of plop it in a timeline 5,000 years before Battle Yavin, that would be, and everything we knew was from that era, but it was still a mosaic with disparate parts, a puzzle where we're seeing pieces that aren't necessarily connected. That could be really fun.
Yeah. I mean, it is interesting that Dave Filoni's there for that, right? Yeah. So he clearly has some hand in it, and
that makes me think that let's get into the Jedi Mandalorian War. Like, we talk about it in Mandalorian quite a bit.
Yeah.
Let's see what that war looked like. Let's see. We need to explore Mandalore, basically the first Mandalorian who's trained as a Jedi, the creation of the Darksaber. This story is actually intertwined with Jedi history. And so when this series is called Tales of the Jedi, that makes me think one of those Jedi should be Mandalore, especially if we're doing one episode. I mean, it's and if it's just a short 30-minute format, or, just slightly longer than that, I mean, I don't see why not. Why we wouldn't be able to jump into Mandalore's,
Yeah, I think you're onto something with that, Grant, because again, if you look at the scheduling, lots of Mando. I mean, Favreau's showing up for the first time since he was there since the premiere of Mandalorian. Like this is the first time he's come back to just do some panels, talk about where Mando's been, where it's going. We're also getting a screening of, well, they're getting a screening of the Siege of Mandalore arc, which is that last arc, which again, Filoni's showing up for that as well. Like Filoni's all surrounded, everything he's engaged with in this, if you look at it, is all about Mando and Mandalore, right? And so if he's there for that Tales of the Jedi, I think you're right. I think that might be their little tie-in. It might be actually more of a tie-in to Mando than we realize, right? It might just be that where it's like season 3, they're going back to Mandalore. Now we're also going to go back and look at the ancient history of Mandalore through the Jedi. Well,
the other day I wanted to just like throw on a Star Wars, and I put on episode 5 of Book of Boba Fett, and it's the one where it's focused on the Mandalorian, and he goes back in the confrontation with the Darksaber, and it's his time with the Armorer and Paz Vizsla. And then they actually name the first Mandalore, right? Tar Vizsla is his name?
That's right. It's Tar Vizsla.
Tar Vizsla. So they've named him, right? Like in the most recent live action thing we've seen. So, I mean, that's a direct link. This is laying the seeds. I mean, if we were, picking up breadcrumbs here and trying to read tea leaves, it's all pointing towards this history of the first Mandalore and how it relates to the current story of Mandalore that we're seeing.
But let's not, we're also getting a little sidetracked from the Tales of the Jedi sort of central through line of the series, which is like, this will be a show about Jedi. And so if we do get a Mandalore episode, it might just be a one-off episode. But, but that's also in the old Tales of the Jedi, the Dark Horse comics, the legends, there was a Mandalore in those stories as well. And that Mandalore was leading the Mandalore, siding with the Sith and fighting against the Jedi. And so I'm wondering if they're going to pull from that Legends content in any way by saying, hey, maybe Mandalore Tar Vizsla, maybe it's a dark saber for a reason. Maybe he sided with the Sith in a context of war or something. So that could be interesting if they delve into that. So I'm interested to see what this series is, and if it, I will just take a series that's just High Republic Jedi, just like one-off stories with different High Republic Jedi. Like that would be fun.
Yeah,
that would be
totally. Definitely. Do you think we'll get, if the saber is tainted and it's like tainted with the dark side? Do you think we'll get a Frodo moment with Din Djarin throwing a Darksaber into a volcano or something?
Don't tease me with the great episode of TV. Holy smokes.
Yeah.
Din Djarin and Paz Vizsla, like I felt the like Elrond Isildur energy from the Paz Vizsla Mando fight in that episode 5 that you were just brought up. I felt that energy. I was like, Paz Vizsla would just, if he got the Darksaber, it wouldn't be good. It would be bad. Like
it'd be very bad. Yeah. But obviously you guys know this because I was feeling myself watching that episode, and I texted you like 20 times. No response, but I was just like, and this, and this, and this. One of the things is like, I'm like, the Armorer is totally force sensitive. Like she wasn't looking at what was going on behind her, but she knew like something made.
Yeah.
She sensed the Darksaber without looking at it. Like, force sensitive. Which is wild. But like, dude, that episode is perfect Star Wars. It's perfect. Like, it's like lore, it's like witchcraft, it's history, it's like so fringy. It's like they're standing on like the underside of a space station.
You have
like,
to think
open
she
to
represents
space.
like the most ancient aspect of the Mandalorians, given her helmet is almost like Spartan-like, or like she looks like a.
She does look like Leonidas with her like golden helmet.
Yeah. Or what's perceived to be the oldest version. I have feelings about like I think it's a lot of a lot of loss to history and a lot of assumptions about the way things were.
I love how we're like, there's a Tales of the Jedi show. Let's talk about
Let's talk about Mando. Let's talk about Mando. That seems fitting for Star Wars Celebration.
It's crazy. Mandalorians have now risen in sort of like popular culture to the point where that we see them, I guess, neck and neck with Jedi at this point. It's like, and the Sith, they're sort of that third faction that's just.
Well, they're so cool. I mean, don't you think they can do whole trilogies or whatever on Mandalorians. Like they have such a rich, cool history. They're as cool as Jedi, right? Like it's this battle culture. They have ties to bounty hunters and infiltrators and rebels and monarchs, and they have their whole culture, and they tie into the Force. And I don't know. It's
I don't know. I think you should be worried about oversaturation though. I think they should rein in the Mando stuff and now push kind of new stuff. I don't know if Thrawn gets introduced and we get Ezra back, or we get Ahsoka can kind of lead her series and we can kind of dive into some Jedi stuff, or explore other avenues. I think that might be a good idea, just given that love Mando. Love Knight Errant Mando, but I don't know. I dig some other stuff too.
I mean, here's the thing: if we're gonna get, if you can't really touch Jedi all that much in this era, right, which is kind of way the storytelling has gone, right, between episodes 6 and 7, not a lot of Jedi. There's more than there were between during episodes 4, 5, and 6, but not a ton. And you want to, and that really seems to be where Star Wars right now wants to build their mythos. Right, is around the Mandoverse, is they're building factions. Yeah. So we're going to have Mandalorians, we're going to have the New Republic, we're going to have the Chiss. I really think that's where we're going to have
the Jedi, maybe?
I think some, I think maybe a little. I think
we're all on the edge of our seat for this Thrawn reveal, right? That is the big reveal at Celebration. We already know it's the actor. Yeah, it's Mads Mikkelsen's brother. I'm forgetting.
They should have just gotten Mads Mikkelsen.
Yeah,
I'm sure his brother's
already Galen Erso.
Yeah,
his brother did the voice on the show, I believe.
Really?
Yeah,
so it'd be a reprisal of the character.
That's great.
I am so excited for it. This. I think this might be one of the major reveals of Celebration. Ahsoka footage, I'm sure. I'm actually certainly there's going to be Ahsoka footage there, right?
I would think so. It's unclear where they're going to put it, but I was looking through. There's gaps in their scheduling for what's going on the Celebration stage, which is the main stage.
In terms of story, though, what are the major cliffhangers that we're all, I guess, yearning to see resolved? I've got to think it's the Ezra stuff from Rebels. I got to think there's going to be some sort of trailer where you're going to hint at Ezra Bridger being alive somewhere in the unknown regions, connected to the the rise of the First Order, do all this fun the Chiss, what have you.
Chiss Ascendancy.
Yeah, sure.
Lars Mikkelsen playing Thrawn.
Yes, Lars Mikkelsen, that's his name. Sorry, I apologize.
Sorry,
it's
Lars.
Gonna be I imagine that might happen. I mean, that's a guess. Do you guys have any big guesses or sort of
in terms of this fun announcements or big announcements on Celebration? I think you hit most of them. I do think we're going to get a movie announcement, a real official movie announcement, because a lot of it's been kind of just maybe this, maybe that. I think they have spent the last 6 months really nailing down who's actually making a movie. Who can we get to commit? Is it going to be, is it going to be Taika's movie? Who knows? But I think we're going to get a real, this is it. This is the date. This is really happening. Here's the movie. Not any previews, nothing like that. But I think they're going to really firmly commit to the next movie,
like they did to the Lando live action series.
That was kind of a whatever during their things, but I think this is going to be a big we're calling a shot. This is actually happening. We're not going to fire the director, and even if we do, we'll still make the movie.
I love your optimism, both of you. That's adorable, but no, I'm going to take the short. I think I think we're going to get an allusion to the Andor and Ahsoka series. They may talk about Kenobi. I don't think we're going to get anything. And then no announcement for a movie. I'm cynical, but I just feel like they're going to be more careful with these announcements. And I don't know. I just don't feel anything.
See, I'm going to go crazy. I think there'll be 2 film announcements. I think there'll
be but Ben, I think they have been careful. I think the reason why we haven't gotten any leaks or rumors about movies is because they're really playing it close to the vest in terms of they've been sitting in a room with Rian Johnson and Kevin Feige and Taika Waititi and saying we need you to commit. Which one are you going to commit? We know you can all land this. You've all made movies. You can all land this, but who's going first? What's your pitch? You're committed. Here's the contract. by order of death if you violate it. Like you are making this movie, and it's coming out December 24th, 2024. Like that's
yeah, because they have no movies on the slate right now.
Yeah,
like they need that, but I don't know. There hasn't been a whiff. It would be weird to just be like, and then bam, all these like content just gets dropped in one weekend. Which I mean, that's what the celebration's kind of about. But it's usually rumors or like these seeds are growing, and you know, I don't know. Obviously, I hope to hear all the stuff y'all are talking about.
Now I got to go back after we're done. I do listen to the episodes after I post them, but I'm going to go down and make notes because this is going to be a wild weekend for Core World News.
No,
because,
I'm guessing the Kevin Feige stuff might materialize in this celebration, just in terms of like, I know John Watts said he was interested in doing something. And he just directed the Spider-Mans, and he just left Fantastic Four, and he's leaving some of his Marvel duties.
Yeah.
Makes me think like something Feige might be doing something over in Star Wars and might have brought him in on it or something, and it might be the beginning of some kind of larger universe, right? Like some larger, some different era of the timeline.
I don't know which would make me more scared, directing a Fantastic Four movie or a Star Wars movie. Both those are like the whole thing is a third rail.
Yeah.
Careful.
And you know, so the other thing that makes me skeptical and cynical is that like they don't have an obvious like lily pad to jump to. Like they, you know, there's High Republic, but like it's not so proven that it would be a series. There's the Mandoverse, that's its own thing. Like it would be a bold move with like one of the directors you're talking about being like, okay, I'm grabbing a new era, I'm fleshing out a new galaxy in this time with all new characters, and like it would be a bold move,
especially when
like doing
TV's
Yoda's
going
Master
so well
from
for you
800
right
years ago. Bold.
Wait, doing what from 800 years ago?
Yoda's Master from 500 to 800 years ago as the connective tissue.
That would be bold.
That would be too crazy.
Do you know where your script is, Grant? Like, who's holding that? What happened? Did you ever get your copy back from them?
Don't do that. That's not a good way to connect everything.
Oh gosh, Grant.
But no, there's
I'm rooting for you. But if
there's ways to go back. There are ways to go back. There are things to explore. There are conflicts talks about. And now in Mando with the Mando Jedi War, to me that seems like the bridge. That seems like the bridge to go back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
that that's
might be. That's what I was trying to say. Is that now that
what might be the movie there is Tar Vizsla. Tar Vizsla might be the movie. Right. And that might be a Favreau, Filoni, Watiti, I don't know, like just some sort of grouping that's familiar that we know. The Tar Vizsla sort of trilogy or whatever that is. I think that could be something announced.
But I understand where you're coming from, Ben, because I feel like they are somewhat becoming risk averse after like the episode 8 solo Rise of Skywalker run. I think that really made them very nervous. Unfortunately, even though they made all the billions of the dollars. Right. But if you think about like from a business standpoint, that happened, and then you follow that up with like series after series that have been like critically received and fan received well, that they're like, well, why would we do anything else and just keep making shows, you know? So we'll see. But I don't know. I think Kathleen still is a movie maker, right? I think Kennedy is still a movie maker, and she wants movies.
Yeah. Tried and true. She's one of the best producers to ever do it. And I gotta think there's movies in the pipeline, and I gotta think that they're roping in the biggest in terms of talent and directing talent.
So that weekend, we have Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Are you talking about May 26th, 27th, 28th, and 29th?
Yep. We have Thursday, technically. We also have the premiere of
Obi-Wan.
And it's our
special.
Wait, guys.
Yeah.
There are new rumors.
And it's our annual Core World News retreat.
There are wild plot details being just leaking out of every hole in the
about Kenobi.
It's
all right. I don't want to hear him here.
we're not going to talk about it on this podcast.
I'm entering plot silence on Kenobi.
Yeah, you know what? Plot silence. How about that, internet? Plot silence.
Yeah. I don't want to be spoiled. Let's just enjoy the show.
Time. It's filling a necessary beat in the story, I imagine, and so we'll keep plot silence on this show. This is about news. This is about prognosticating what we could see at Celebration. And it's been fun.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I can't wait. So it's going to be a wild weekend. We're going to try and we're going to try and report as quickly as we can adjacent to the Kenobi releases. And we'll all be together on our retreat. So we're going to try and report on the Celebration as it happens.
Have a podcasting room.
Yeah, we do. Oh, wow.
We do.
You have the internet there. I heard that's important.
Yes,
you have the holonet.
We have the internet. We have the internet. Yeah.
Well, it would be great to go to the lake country of Cape Cod and get off the space station for a while.
Just Untitled Lake Country.
It'll be fun to go to Untitled Lake Country, and
I want to dive into the Untitled Lake.
There's some poetry to that.
Yeah.
All right. It's awesome. Let's talk about Queen's Hope.
Take a look. It's in a book.
Reading Wrath Time. Reading Wrath Time.
Welcome back. This is another Reading Rathtar. This is a little end of a trilogy for E.K. Johnston. This is the book we're going to cover is Queen's Hope. It is preceded by Queen's Peril and Queen's Shadow, also by E.K. Johnston. And it's all about Padme Amidala, Queen. This book takes place right after the events of Geonosis, so right after episode 2. And,
starting right, actually technically right before.
Yeah, I guess before
a
specific scene in episode 2.
Yeah. Because there's prep before.
Oh yes, you're right.
Yeah,
you're right.
for the
Yeah. So it ends after the Battle of Geonosis in episode 2.
Yeah, that's a actually right off the bat.
Yeah. So. Wow.
Welcome to a Star Wars podcast.
Salty Adam right off the bat. I love it.
Look at the third book in the Queen's installment.
Yes, you're right. You're right, Adam. When you're right.
Palpatine only has 3 scenes in this novel, whereas he has several in the first 2. I don't know if that's true. That's not true. There's I guess.
Oh, you shouldn't have backed down from that.
I think we get more Palpatine in this one than we get.
I think we do.
So
and E.K. Johnston crushes Palpatine. I'm right out the gate here.
Yeah, I was gonna say she crushes everything. I had no expectations from Yoda. Given this book was a lot of really subtleties of being queens and her handmaidens and their intricacies and their personalities and their love lives and all that stuff. But this book just got lit. It just I felt like I was watching a movie that overlapped episode 2 and episode 3, and yet it had some other things here. But I thought it was fantastic. There's so much.
My quick hot take is that E.K. Johnston writes prequel era Star Wars better than any other novelist I've read in New EU.
Woo!
I'm gonna agree with that just because I love how she understands the economics, the bureaucracy, the politics.
Yeah,
she understands. Actually, it's so relevant reading
Jedi
this
Dogma
book right now too. Just seeing how the Clone Wars affected the galaxy with inflation and resources waning and things like that, and in our day-to-day lives right now. I think that's something that we think about nonstop, and so it's super relevant reading this book. And actually it was kind of tough getting through just some of the Clone War details that are talked about, just I guess laissez-faire. The talk of the day is that the Clone Wars are occurring all over the galaxy. There's separatist regions, there's certain scuffles and trade disputes happening everywhere, and I guess it's just now starting, right? Like the Clone Wars have just begun, I guess. In this book.
Yeah, even it starts with a name that she's I guess it's called the Clone Wars.
Right.
Already they all know it.
Yeah.
I loved that moment when they're calling it the Clone Wars, and I was like, wow, it feels like we're on the ground, seeing history.
Yeah. And great. I mean, right off the bat too, I thought of you because Sabe is we'll have to talk about all the handmaids, but Sabe is having a conversation about how there's already debates about whether or not clones have souls and whether they're not, whether they're individuals. And I like,
shout out to Plo Koon too, who's also in these books. whenever you talk about the clones, meaning having their life being as valuable as anyone else's, and equality and for clones, all that sort of stuff, I think about Plo Koon, and he's in this book a little bit, and like you get a lot of Jedi in this book.
Yes.
And I found her handling of Yoda and a bunch of the Jedi as really, really, really deft.
Top notch.
Yeah.
I was there.
I'll also say, I don't know how to say this without being a slight dig at Luke. But I mean, like, so the romance stuff, like why Anakin and Padme ended up
not
together.
The brightest bulb. Is that where you're trying to get to?
No. I mean, yeah, but that's, I mean, yes, but that's not where it's going. Is that like, it's like, I never really like their relationship and their connection. Like I felt like I had to do all the work.
Yeah.
When I was watching those movies, which I could, because I'm a good Star Wars fan. We do the work. A lot of the time.
Very one-sided in the films. Like I think it's Anakin pursuing Padme in the movies, where it's just like in the books, like she has such deep love for Anakin, and you feel it in these books.
You feel
E.K. Johnston has reestablished, and then also like Sabe recognizing a change in Padme is like the change that we see from like Attack of the Clones to Revenge of the Sith. It's like E.K. Johnston is doing some sort of doing a lot of, I think, backfill for our own sort of headcanon in the Padme.
One in particular that stood out to me was the discussion of Padme seeing the look on Anakin's face when he saw a new planet. Because remember, way back in episode 1, right? We have the Anakin. I'm gonna be the first person to see all of them, right? You see every single one of them.
To be fair, that is endearing, and I do love Anakin for his adventure, I guess, component personality. I love that about him, and I love that about the Skywalkers. What's crazy about Anakin and Luke is they both are adventurers. They both take risks. They're risk takers, and to me, that's the through line. That's the connection between father and son. And so even Sabe kind of sees Anakin's charm at the end.
Yeah, reluctantly. Yeah.
I mean, right. In the beginning, so she's a very different view of Anakin earlier in the novel, but it evolves. Her view of Anakin evolves,
and it's a fun parallel. If you listen to our episode last week, we covered the recent Vader series, and Sabe and Anakin reconnect, but this time Anakin is Darth Vader and is uncovered by Sabe. Sabe figures it out. So
in retrospect, it's almost like that comic should have ended with, "Why would I be afraid of Anakin? He's a creep," or "Why would I be afraid of that creep?"
Yeah.
Right. But now we sort of get it, right? Like she already sees the creep Nate. Like there's already these hints that they've seen, that both Padme and Sabe have seen in Anakin. And actually they even address the fact that like she goes through the timeline. She's like, he slaughtered a bunch of Tuskens, and she was like,
"Can we talk
massacre?
about that for a second?" Yeah, that is like Padme has been briefed on this. Like Anakin has told Padme about it.
Yeah. She yada.
She yada's the clone army coming out of nowhere, and then also this whole like Anakin slayed a bunch of Tuskens, and he's trying to get over it. He needs some R&R.
And then everything happens so.
We just ordered our tickets to scare him, like, or he's just trying to.
But it's true. But then she's like, but in that quote, she's like, and then everything. I don't have the direct quote in front of me, but she's like, and then everything happened so fastly, and we were here, and we were there, and then we were married. I'm like, whoa.
To be fair, a lot of the following sentences do
you slept sometimes.
Yeah,
between
but like
moments.
Sabe, like there's a line in there, and I'm sure I have it highlighted, but she does mention, she's like, and so it all just kind of came together. It all just kind of happened that quickly. But like she acknowledges the fact that there was a massacre at the front of that series of events, and it's like, it's funny. Hey, we have good times here. There was, you love who you love. And that's the way it goes. Yeah. There's two halves to every whole, and
another great Sabe line is like, I get why you like him. He's a little bit too intense for me. Like, I think she says, I'm like, yep. It's one way to put it.
Yeah. But she did E.K. Johnston did a beautiful job of telling that story and making it believable. Because you're like, we see Padme's side of it, where she's like, but I like that about him. Like, that's how she's like, Padme's weird. She's, she was like a senator at 12 or something stupid like that. Like she's been in this weird life of, and in this mission, we even get some backstory, which is pretty cool about, what really the defining moment at which she decided to help other people as much as she can with the rest of her life. And it fits. It just fits. Like, Amidala is an odd person, but it's kind of interesting because she's like, Amidala's all right. I'm going to just go ahead and say that this is my big, like, takeaway from this, my hot take. Like, Queen's Hope, these are the best years of Amidala's life.
Dude,
like, this is little
like
time capsule.
Anakin's high point too, because it's like he loves hanging out in Naboo with like like, are you kidding me? Like, Anakin's living it up right now, just chilling. He's just chilling. And then, like, I was like, wait, Anakin gets to chill this hard as the Clone Wars are erupting? Like, I'm confused by that, but
Anakin's chill level is like off the chart. He's like, yeah, it's gonna be great. We're gonna kill, like, it even gets like on the battlefield, and Obi-Wan's like, I think you like this too much.
Yeah,
because he's just like slaughtering. I mean, it's not Tuskens this time; it's droids, but like a whole droid army, and he's just having the time of his life. And but that's the thing; it's a very upbeat novel. Like, we don't get any of the, and then it turned bad, and then he choked her to death. Like, none of that happened. No. It's just like,
I thought we were going to dive into that.
Moments of her life.
Are we going to get into that at some point? Is that going to happen?
I mean, maybe this is the end of the trilogy. I don't know if we need to. I mean, it's so clearly on the screen. Yeah. I mean, I will say, like, I see exactly what you're saying, Ben, and I think part of it is because this is kind of the first time since episode 1 that Padme has been given agency in a lot of ways. Like she has very little agency in the third movie, and reading like her decision making in this, and like she gets her swashbuckling moments.
Yeah,
in these novels.
She gets to go on an adventure. In this one.
With
Typho and
destroyer.
Padme.
Yeah,
forever. Oh my goodness! Like, give them a comic. Padme and Typho.
Right. Well, it was, everything kind of worked out so well that like no one failed in this whole thing. It was just like W after W after W for all our heroes. Like, a
and
power
villains
slide by Padme underneath a destroyer, a droidica, and knifed a droidica to death right in the sweet spot, whatever that is. And she's like, yeah, no problem. I know my life's in danger, but we were out on this planet anyways. I might as well put my life in danger.
Right.
Yeah. Right. Because that's when Sabe is like impersonating her, with Anakin.
Should we put some structure to this story?
Yeah. Let's do some structure now.
All right. So we have what, 3 main characters? We obviously have Padme Amidala, and she is, going back to this. She's getting married and going back to the Senate, and then has been asked to go on a secret mission. We have Sabe, who's been trying to free slaves on Tatooine with Tonra, right? And
her sometime paramour,
right? And paramour is a good term for that. I didn't really figure that out till the end of the book, but that's okay.
They're kind of on again, off again throughout, I think, the first 2 novels. Yeah.
Right. So
they live together, I believe. Like they're
But I love this side story because it's Padme's like, you know what, Anakin always wanted the slaves to be freed, and I think we can do something about it. And that's their mission there. And then there's Sashay, who is a regional governor, and there's someone with. It came to their attention about some old clause about how Naboo, being the governing body of the Chamel sector, could call on all the other planets to give them as much aid as they wanted at any given time.
Yeah.
And it's them renegotiating this trade contract. So, hey, if you loved the fact that it was like trade routes are in dispute, like in the beginning of Phantom Menace, this is the book for you, because we're in it. And that's the third thing. And they don't really all come together. A couple of those lines come together towards the end, or mission. And there is Palpatine pulling the strings, and we get his point of view a few times.
Yeah, we do.
But that is essentially the book.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a quick read, and it's very a lot of adventure and a lot of, like you said, some of these intersect. I mean, they all kind of start off from the same place, and they kind of go their different directions. The Sabe and Padme storylines intersect a lot, which makes a lot of sense because, again, Sabe is impersonating Padme. Sashay one is a little off doing its own thing, but comes from the beginning of the novel. She's sent on a specific mission.
Yeah. We get some great Mon Mothma and Bail Organa.
Yeah.
You know, nothing really illuminating, but Bail is obviously, he's like wink, wink, nod, nod, like he knows who he's dealing with. We get some, like, Mon Mothma and Padme Amidala don't agree often, and they're kind of very different people, and I love that little wrinkle.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So
Right, because for I mean, the A story is Padme, B is probably Sabe, and C Sache, and then we have these other ancillary stories, like we have Jedi, we have Yoda, we have Palpatine. There's just there's lots of Palpatine's point of view in this whole thing is so astounding, where he's just like, Anakin's just eager to kill Lord Tyrannus, like everyone's in my pocket. It's just like incredible.
He's like, I am so smart.
He's like, I don't need to do anything.
Yeah.
I was gonna say this painting. Go ahead, you go for it, Ben.
Oh, I'm so sorry, Adam.
No.
You get the sense of Emperor Palpatine. Well, you know, Chancellor Palpatine's unlimited power. He's now putting the last chess pieces in place. He's even like being frivolous in some ways, which, like, I've always thought about him. He's just sort of like, he moves pieces to see which eventuality will occur, and it doesn't really matter which one does because he's planned for every eventuality. And so it's all this grand game, and he's playing like 5D chess, and everyone else is playing checkers.
Yeah, this fits. I was going to say it's very similar. This fits my vision of Palpatine, who is really the ultimate strategist, but also really flexible, where it's just like certain things happen in this book that went not according to his plan. But he's just like, that works too. Like that to me is like that to me is always been Palpatine, who's just like, yeah, I can make that work. Whatever happens, he will figure out a way to make that to his benefit. And I like that.
And then most surprisingly, we get Shmi Skywalker stories, just like these little brief
vignettes. We get vignettes throughout
yeah.
of important women in the galaxy. Yeah.
Yeah. Thought that was spectacular. It really swept me away. And I love E.K. Johnston's writing. I think just throughout the book, I just loved every scenario. I loved the artist retreat on Naruyo.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
That was super Carl.
Spice-filled artist retreat.
Yeah.
They're like, but it's
just
cool
because preserve some plants and paint all day. It's okay.
Yeah. Let's go.
Yeah.
I mean, not to whatever, but this is something that also is kind of connected to this book, is that E.K. Johnston finds a way to take current issues and connect them to the Star Wars universe. And there's some pretty obvious ones dealing with LGBTQ rights in this book, which I really appreciated. But in terms of the spice, she equated that to legalizing marijuana.
Yeah, she did.
Yeah, there's a line here that says Naboo's medical system was good, but it wasn't perfect. There were some things that couldn't be cured. Doctors argued over the treatment while their patients waited, desperate for relief. Spice was generally frowned upon, dismissed as a recreational high that caused more damage than it solved, but its abilities to numb pain were undeniable.
Right.
I mean, you could get rid of Naboo and say states and get rid of spice and put in marijuana.
Yeah.
Yeah, we even know Carl.
Cannabis, please.
Carl
cannabis.
uses medical grade spice as well.
Mm-hmm.
While he paints it. I guess it's a source of inspiration for him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to go back to that vignette for a second, because there's been a lot of discussion about the vergence in the Force that is Anakin, and whether or not it was brought about by Palpatine. Current canon seems to suggest that it was a true vergence, right? That it was not whatever, which is, all right, cool. But what I like about this book is that you have a moment where, like, it's a bit of a divine moment almost with Shmi, where it's very vague, but it's almost written like she felt this and accepted this. right? Like she almost felt her role in the galaxy of raising this
She
person.
reached
It's
out
very-
to the stars and she said yes.
Yeah.
Adam.
Mhm. It's very mythical. It's very Hero of a Thousand Faces. Like it's
That's my favorite part of Star Wars. It's like there's no explanation, but something magical occurred. Yes, fine, perfect. That's what I want.
Yeah. And then another vignette is Beru.
Yes, Beru
Right.
Whitesun.
Yeah.
Whitesuns.
Yeah. And from, we took two things we ever get her in Star Wars, which is like, Luke, you're gonna be late, Luke.
Yeah.
And then like, here, this is my girlfriend Beru. Like those only two moments we get of her in that we find out that she was this whole time trying to free slaves.
Yes, very much at the forefront of that, and like with aliases and like technology, she was like an expert slicer.
Right, like removing the chip, I guess, from Shmi.
Yes. Yeah, taking out
if she didn't do it, like Shmi would have died. Like you need an expert like Beru to do this, basically.
Yeah. Which is wild. It was a really great thing. And I wonder if we're gonna get some of that in Kenobi, because
I wonder too, yeah.
Wow, that is so cool. I really hope we get that. I would love a sort of like freeing slaves after what happened with Shmi, the whole like the Lars homestead, the Lars family just wants to free people because of Shmi's story and like getting out there and
imagine that for Luke's backstory. That
makes
Luke's aunt, right, is this slave freer and then you have, and that's not the word, liberator, and then you have Owen, who's just trying to like not get his family killed, right? Like, and so basically his adopted son is running off doing crazy things. His wife is trying to like free slaves. Like, it could be a really interesting plot line. Yeah.
You've got.
Do you think there's going to be a drought? Do you guys think there's going to be a drought, and Owen's going to be like, "These moisture evaporators are all we have. Like, you need us."
Could be.
Definitely. Who else? What are some of the other vignettes we get? We get Leia's mom, right? We get Breha Organa at the very end.
Organa.
Breha Organa.
Yeah, she gets a little highlight, a kind of set chapter.
Yeah.
We get a lot of Bail too. Yeah, Bail's a straight shooter. Everyone loves Bail. That's what I learned from this book. I learned from this book is everyone loves Bail.
Everyone but Palpatine.
Yoda confides in Bail. Yeah, everyone but Palpatine, obviously. But
we also get it back to Palps. We get like a Palpatine temper tantrum.
Yes, I was going to mention that. It's like, this is the only time I think we've got a temper tantrum out of Palps. Like, he never shows the cracks in his armor. It's always like, ha, according to my plan. But this one time he was like, I did not expect this. I'm very vexed. I'm going to supercharge my Sith artifact with my own lightning because I just need to like kill something, destroy.
Dude, but when he's not vexed, all he does is talk about how when he's in anger, it gives him focus and like makes him stronger. Like, do you not think maybe anger is something he feeds off of? Like, I don't know.
Yes, this is him nurturing his. It's important for me to get angry.
It's a very like, it's as much as he's angry and he's throwing a temper tantrum. So my daughter, who's just about 2, has just started realizing she can throw temper tantrums. But it's hard not to laugh, to be honest, because she slowly lowers herself to the ground and like carefully puts her head down on the ground before like kicking. Yeah. So it's like the least emotional thing I've ever seen. So it's just the careful. So it reminds me of Palpatine, like, all right, I can do this, but I got to like get in this right position. I got to go to my office. I got to lock the door, close the drapes. Okay,
Excuse
now I can shoot
guards.
lightning. Now I can scream into a pillow. Like,
it's good time.
Palpatine temper tantrum. Not fun. Not fun for Masameda, who's also in this.
Yeah, there's a lot of other there's just so many good nuggets in here.
Yeah.
There's one thing is that there is a shrine to to Qui-Gon Jinn.
I read that. Yeah, that's super cool.
Yeah.
And
Anakin even talks about hearing him in the book too.
Yes.
Yep.
There's a lot of Qui-Gon Jinn in this that I just really hope we get more in.
I was gonna say,
confirms he
just-
is like the first.
it's a month.
go
We'll
into
see him
the
in a month.
afterlife.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
So
30 days.
Right. So
he's
Anakin,
he's the first to go to pass into the Nether Realm, or I guess to return from the Nether Realm, as a ghost. Right. That's kind of like the canon.
what, Qui-Gon?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
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 Like if you do any stories that take place before this, like your characters can't return in ghost form because like
That's right.
Qui-Gon was the very first canonical Jedi to figure out how to.
Unless to go back to our first discussion, if you
but
go
I
back
do believe
5,000 years.
Sith Wraiths.
Yeah. If you go 5,000
and-
years, it's a first in Yoda's lifetime, right? Because we know Yoda said this is the first time he's seen it.
Yes.
And that's 900 years. So it would have to be before.
And you can just
that.
justify it's lost, like it's lost to the whatever. But
Lost.
yeah, you're. But I don't want to cut you off, Grant, because you're talking about Sith Wraiths, and yes, please.
Yes. Let's go.
Sith Wraiths, I think there's no rules apply at that point.
Yeah, they're like
No rules apply. It's just IMAX image base. It's all you need. And Sith
I
Wraiths.
really thought we were gonna get Haunted House, Death Star in Episode 9, which we got like almost
We kind of got that. There
did
was
get
one
that.
room of horrors.
Yeah,
a
you
little
were even
bit.
saying that before the movie, and we did
Yeah.
get it. But
I
guess
thought
it
that's
was
how they're gonna.
foreshadowed, right? Because it was ominous when we saw the Death Star wreckage.
We
it was
saw
very
it. So
specific.
my thinking was we saw it and we had Ian McDermott back as Palpatine, and I thought this was going to be the trick they were going to play. Like I didn't think Palpatine was going to be the big bad. I thought they were going to bring back as a force as a Sith Wraith, right? But anyway, but I want that. I want
thought you
a
would do
haunted house
young
horror
Palpatine.
movie.
I thought you were going to do young Palpatine on like a paradisical planet.
That would have been great
Like,
too.
I don't know. I thought you could have really subverted everything and been weird about it.
We had him as Matt Smith, and that didn't happen. For some reason.
That's
Yeah, that would have been a fun story. So what I was talking about Qui-Gon Jinn's memorial, and Anakin actually meditates there and sees something. Anakin looked deeper. There was so much fighting in his future, but it was all for the good of the Republic, for order. Maybe that was what Qui-Gon wanted him to see. There was always a way for him to make it right. I think the order thing is obviously like synergy with the recent Vader comic, because Vader's obsessed with the order right now in that Vader comic. Again, see our last episode.
It's like Greg Pak and E.K. Johnston got on the phone and we're like,
totally. Yeah.
It's
She really tied
thank you
in
for the
with what she
advanced
did.
copy. I will be doing this with Vader. I think
or vice versa. Yeah, it's totally logical though, based on Anakin's discussion in episode 2, right? He's all about. I mean, that in episode 2
and
and
the
3,
Sabe
like, he's all about
Anakin
order.
moments in this as well are almost foundational to what we're seeing in the comics, which I do think gel actually. Now that I do think about it for longer, I feel like it does gel very well. That Vader and Sabe have a sort of longer relationship.
Yeah, that's very cool. And I mean, again, sort of echoing what's going on in current events. Like they talk about how actually, like one of the things that brings Vader and Padme together is they want the same thing.
Yeah.
But they want it in different ways. And that's like I feel like United States politics, I'm not going to get too deep into it, but we all actually want the same thing. But because of narrative.
Or Naboo politics, like a triumvirate that has to, the whole government has to act as one to vote on anything. And it takes forever for anything, legislation to pass. It's
right. And we get into that. He
stuff.
says it. He's like, you just crippled yourself by doing it.
Yeah.
It's like it's a vote against the filibuster as like that crippled American politics, having to have all three vote in unity. Palpatine's like, that is stupid. Like you'll never get anything done, and you'll never be able to actually activate on this thing if you needed to. So he was very pleased with that.
Yeah.
Anyways, lots of parallels to the old, our universe or galaxy.
There's a lot. There's stuff even about like there's so much that fits into American like current and again, some of it's really on the nose and not in a bad way, but it's very like you'll read and you'll be like, oh, that's what she's referencing. And other ones where I was reading and I'm like, oh wait, I think this is a reference to like what's been going on with pandemic like stuff.
Yeah.
Like it's all there.
It's all
on a completely non-connected note. What does stealth armor look like on a clone trooper You guys are
yeah.
better with trooper
Well, there are
armor.
those Phase 2 armors that are black that are in Bad Batch. The Phase 2. all
That's what
black
that
ones.
was.
Okay,
Thank you.
so it's
with
black
the green, the stealth armor or Death Trooper armor usually has like the green visor as well. The black, the matte black.
I can picture that now. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Cool. That's good. Tying back into Qui-Gon, because we can never stop talking about Qui-Gon. I wanted to ask you all something. So, at the end of Anakin's meditation, he says, "Thank you, Master." Though he didn't know if Qui-Gon had been responsible for anything he'd just seen and felt. I'm wondering, you're Qui-Gon Jinn. You're both Qui-Gon Jinns.
I can be Qui-Gon.
Right. What do you think Qui-Gon
Be a
would say
ticket.
about Anakin's role in the galaxy as Vader? Like, so now Qui-Gon has seen Anakin Skywalker's, fall and rise, rise and fall and rise. And like, knowing what we know about Qui-Gon's a very orthodox, of the Force, whatever the Force wills. Would he say, okay, this is the Force willing you to go to the dark side and play your part there and do everything and come back? Or would he be like, you're trash? Like what you're not whatever, what you could have been.
Yeah. So here's the thing. I think yes to all of those. So here's the thing. Like, I feel like we get Qui-Gon screaming through the Force at Anakin not to slaughter everyone. So I think what would happen if we had this, and if they ever had a Force conversation afterwards, in the 5 minutes that he's Anakin again at the end of episode 6, is I think he'd actually be closer to Luke, where it's just like, yes, you did so many horrible things, you shouldn't have done those things or whatever. But I think Qui-Gon also would have forgiven him, right? I feel like Qui-Gon would have accepted his redemption at the very end,
because like that was his path.
Yeah, I think so. I think he's very much the will of the Force.
Yeah, I also feel like it's an extension from Palpatine, right? Like if Darth Maul was Palpatine's apprentice and basically represents sort of like the arm of Palpatine, and that sort of the killing of Qui-Gon was sort of the first corruption of Anakin. Basically, was taking that friendly paternal figure away, and so that's where the darkness began. And so so I don't know. Qui-Gon, I think, understands that, but at the same time, I think Qui-Gon's like almost blames himself, and it's just also in a depression about it. And I think Obi-Wan is in a depression about it too. I think there's like just a real dark cloud over those three individuals, because they're all wrapped into Anakin's history and his backstory, and they failed. Obi-Wan says it in Revenge of the Sith. It kills me every time.
Yeah, I failed you.
It
kills me every
I get choked
time.
The
movie goes up in my my list.
That
Just
line,
stupid line.
Here's what I always say about that movie. We talked a bit about it last week. The opening scene, always like, this is the best Star Wars movie ever, and then whoop, way down, and then that line comes in, and then it lied at the very end. I'm like, oh, this was the best Star Wars movie ever. So that's why Episode 3 tricks me into rising higher in the list every time I do it, is because the very beginning and very end of that movie are amazing. Anyway, kind of a related question: what do you think Qui-Gon would have to say about Anakin marrying Padme?
I think he would approve. I mean, this might be my like affinity for always playing devil's advocate, but I think Qui-Gon would be like, it's the will of the Force.
Yeah,
and it's unorthodox, but like, to heck
so's
with
Anakin.
the rules. Yeah,
I think Anakin. Wouldn't
So is
Qui-Gon
Qui-Gon.
give him? Wouldn't Qui-Gon also be like, why don't leave the Jedi if need be? Like, take your training, take your knowledge, come back to us if your marriage doesn't work out. But like,
go have a
leave
Rumspringa.
the Jedi, come back, or like, go enjoy your life, or go where you wish, whatever, live and let be.
I think Qui-Gon would have said in a very, very parental way, this violates the rules. It's between you and me, but you need to promise me that you need, you need to tell me everything, right? Like, we need to be open with each other, so that he could be a sounding board if he starts and I feel like it would have changed. That would have happened is that second he had that nightmare about Padme dying, he would have told Qui-Gon about the nightmare of Padme dying, and they would have
Yeah.
talked
And-
about
well,
it.
I don't know.
Qui-Gon
I
would've been
think-
like,
I
chill,
think-
homie.
Yeah.
And on second thought, dude, I think Qui-Gon would have been a little bit more stringent, like a little bit. He was very sort of, I guess, instructive with Anakin, like early on when he was a kid, like on Tatooine, and sort of like. But he was playful, but he was also instructive, and I feel like he would have just. They would have been. Anakin would have been more zen, right? Like if Anakin had more time with Qui-Gon, he would have become zen.
He probably wouldn't have
been meditating all day, all this sort of stuff. Where Obi-Wan, I think Obi-Wan likes to go hang with Dex, like in Dex's diner and like the busy streets of Coruscant. Obi-Wan's a detective. He's like a Philip Marlowe. He's like a
I honestly think
Poirot,
Obi-Wan would have been cool with it.
I don't like. Yeah, I know. So I feel like Obi-Wan was always meant to be like the Batman of the galaxy, and
Right. And because, Obi-Wan was on the council, that like led them right to the center of Jedi politics. But Qui-Gon, that's the exact reason why Qui-Gon refused the council. It's like he didn't want to get caught up in the political
Obi wanted
tangles.
Obi was
of
going
the
to.
Jedi
Obi was at
Council.
the beginning of his career. He was about to just start doing these field missions. And nothing was going to stop him from doing that. Anakin got pulled into a far more adventurous Jedi learning experience than I think he bargained for. I think Anakin was, ready for this kind of elder statesman in Qui-Gon, this guy who had been around the block and was going to teach him the ways, just slowly and methodically, knowing he's the Virgins of the Force, or believing it and believing the potential. Right. It's also a belief in potential, right? And like, I forget what there's a famous quote from a philosopher I love, but it's about seeing his potential. Like Qui-Gon saw Anakin's potential, whereas Obi-Wan, I don't think Obi-Wan believed in Anakin. I don't think Obi-Wan believed in anything Qui-Gon believed in. I think that he represented a sort of like
cynicism,
cynicism, a sort of exactly, a sort of skeptic about everything that Qui-Gon believed in, which was interesting because I think that's why people love Obi-Wan. He's just a skeptical, sort of like Socratic Jedi, right? Like let's take data, let's learn from it, and let's just move forward on what we know. That's what Obi-Wan is.
Unbiased. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
And Qui-Gon's all about faith and belief, and seeing visions in the Force and whatnot, feeling the Force.
There was another random moment in this book that totally shook the foundation of canon as we know it. There was a female clone trooper that showed up.
Yeah.
I mean, we obviously have one in Bad Batch.
Yeah.
But she was like scurried away. But there's an actual trooper, and like it felt like they didn't know what to do with quote unquote defects in their thing, and they just put them out on the lines like, well, okay, this one came out female, we'll just let her go, and she was out there being a trooper.
So yeah, I read that differently. All right, so we're gonna try to have this conversation without stepping on landmines, but
okay,
I'm coming out of this place of honesty and openness and whatever. But I think born male biologically, I think she was a trans stormtrooper or clone trooper, is the way I read it.
I could see you reading it that way.
Yeah, and I had highlighted it because because I read the same way, Ben. Like it really did kind of rock me when I first read it, because I thought same thing. Like, what about Omega, right? Like Omega, who was biologically born female, right? And then I'm searching now quickly for so we can
the quote was Anakin's like, well, that's cool. Like Jedi are all about transcendence, and it seems you have transcended gender.
Yes, and what's the next line after that?
She says, like, well, that's a start.
That's a start that's clunky, right? Because what they're going for is transcending gender, transgender. Yeah, so that made me wonder, but it was like the fact that she was immediately, obviously, a she to the narrator and everyone there.
made me believe like, oh, it's a she. It would be like, I don't know.
Aren't there Jedis?
It was so vague. It was tough to really get.
There are already Jedis that are gender fluid and have like organs and 3 brains, and 2 hearts, and 10 limbs. Like I don't really. There really isn't, I think, any aversion to that in the Star Wars galaxy.
No, definitely not. I will read from Wikipedia. Their identifying sister was the nickname of a trans female clone trooper. So I think that's what they're going for. But Ben, I agree with you. When I was reading that, I had to reread it a few times because I had the same thought of like, whoa, that really messes with the Omega story, right? And then when I read it a couple more times, I think I got to the point of like, oh, she's trans. So that's how they're talking about this, and that her acceptance from her brothers is to be named sister. And after reading it like 4 or 5 times, I kind of honestly started to cry a little bit. But anyway, moving on. Yeah, very touching. Yeah.
Yeah, and again, shots fired, E.K. Johnson. She's wandering into Chuck Wendig's territory. We'll see how her tweets go.
I thought it was beautiful, honestly.
I know, but
it's beautiful. But it's like
I'm excited for more. I just didn't think that there's no real like I think like there's so much fun gender play in Star Wars that I didn't think that any clone trooper would find any issue with it.
But that's
or being like or question the Jedi or Anakin defend the Jedi. Be like the Jedi are believe in all peoples and all genders. It's like
I'm just saying.
There's like of course everyone does in the Star Wars galaxy because it's so diverse.
But I had the same reaction when I read that. I'm like, wow, her Twitter is going to be a rough spot for her. Which I think so. Did you read her? Did you read her at the very end? Her acknowledgments.
I did
so
not.
There's a line in that which I did not highlight. So, and my thing's not allowing me to like drag and scroll. So I'm literally having to like quickly sweep through 250 pages of this thing. But there's a line where she says, I hate Kindle.
But I do hope we get their stormtrooper figure and also the stealth stormtrooper armor from the.
There's also
Sabe figure from the Vader comic. Thank you.
There's a fanfic of Sister, by the way, that she commissioned. That's now on if you go to it. What Sister looks like, which is super cool. But so what she says at the very end of her acknowledgments is, lastly, I want to thank my readers. When Queen's Peril came out last June, I had a pretty bad time of it, and you were all amazing. And I don't know what that means. I don't know if she went through something personally, but I also know how the internet is, and these progressive ideas that she has put in this thing is not new. I remember seeing some of these as well. I don't remember her addressing them as heads on. So I'm sure the same people who went after Chuck Wendig and the bad faith people out there went after her as well, which is just a shame because she's an amazing writer. And it makes the second I read that stuff, because it's really the first time I've read anything like that in a Star Wars book, it made me realize, like, oh, of course this is in Star Wars. Like, why? It's weird that it hasn't been, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, of course. Yeah, this is how Star Wars is. It's like there's every variety of stormtrooper, clone trooper you can imagine. It's going to be, and you can explore all these different gender stories in that too, which is great.
Yeah, no, going back to my first point when we started this, like portion, it's like she covered so much ground in this little book. Mm-hmm. In this like short book, she just did really, E.K. Johnson just really did amazing, groundbreaking, making the galaxy bigger moments in it, and it's pretty great. And I really applaud her for it. I think it's awesome.
Yeah, there's another character who was working with Sashay, right? And I can't remember that character's name because I'm just thinking of it right now.
I know who just use the pronouns all the time.
Yeah, and they were going to be they went out for a being a handmaiden. Z. Thank you. But
she with Z in the front.
That's the thing I wanted to talk about is that E.K. Johnson did a really good job of using that pronoun, and then in the narrative of the book explaining what that pronoun means without it feeling like a let's step away and have a education moment. Does that make sense? Where like I've encountered that as an academician, I'm aware of that, but I have to admit, before reading this book, I was not 100% I know people who have gone by that gender pronoun before, and I have used it before with people who that's their identification. But actually, just through this book, through a Star Wars book of all things, and a couple paragraphs, I became more aware of what that means, right? Which is gender fluid, which is, I understand the term, but I never made that connection. It was really a wonderful way to learn that, so I guess I'm saying thank you, Ian Johnson, for educating me a little bit in this book.
Right. Yeah, I didn't know if it was a thing or if it was Star Wars, because I'm like, oh, this makes a lot of sense in the Star Wars galaxy. And then, it's same as you. I had to I'm like, oh, okay, this is a thing that she's pulling in here, and I learned something today. I learned.
Yeah. I really do love a lot of the messaging in these books, the politics. I love what E.K. Johnston's been able to add to the Star Wars mythos and overarching story in terms of that stuff. And just Padme, giving Padme more story. We do not get enough with Padme in the prequels. Like it is the Anakin Obi-Wan show in the prequels. And what I love about these books is they give us so much more with Padme, Sabe, Sache. We get new handmaidens that are like brought in this book. Yeah. I love the dynamics of the handmaidens. You even get like what do we get? Jamila, Queen Jamila contacts her early on. Yeah. We get her. We get that character. We just get a lot of the women of Star Wars are kind of highlighted in these books. And I think this is the only place, like these novels are really the only books that give you more Padme, give you more Beru, give you more Breha Organa, give you more Shmi. Like they give you where more. Else are you getting the women? I just don't. Than these stories, you're not getting anywhere else.
EK made the craziest pull. She pulled out Barriss Offee.
Yeah, I have that highlighted.
You get a lot of insight with Barriss Offee too. She's like, I hate war.
Yeah, yeah. She's like, I'm out. After Geonosis,
she's like, I would rather hang out in the medical facility, like the Jedi medical training facility,
which she ultimately blew up.
Right.
Yeah. Remember, she turned to terrorism. Yes. Yeah, that's why she was like. Remember, she was one of my top Jedi. I was like, I just love her story, and I was like,
that's directly connected to Ahsoka leaving the Order, right? Like this whole arc. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Great pull. Yeah.
I kind of want to make my wife, that sounds horrible. I kind of want to offer this to my wife to read this trilogy because she's had a particularly negative reaction to the prequels after before the last trilogy came out, mostly because of Padme and how Padme was portrayed in the last two, and particularly the third movie. And well, she's like, I'm out. Like, this sucks. Like, that's her. Like, she's just barefoot and pregnant in the third movie, and that's her role. Right. And I'm like, I can't really like
defend that.
Against that. Yeah, right. But I think she would enjoy these books.
I think Carly would too, or at least I would also love to see what Carly would say about.
She teaches English, and she teaches a lot of young fiction, right? And so I think she would appreciate these books.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
Do you think there's a story for one more books? Because one more book you could cover like a time in which Anakin came back from like the Outer Rim sieges, and he was like kind of PTSD, and she's like, wow, this is dark, and then catch up with Sabe and catch up with some other people. Like, don't you think there's one more story?
Queen's death.
No.
Well, that's the thing. Is like you need to get out of it before that.
Queen's asphyxiation.
You can't do Revenge of the Sith. So you're doing before that.
Get out before that.
He's coming back from some random siege, some battle on some Outer Rim world, and he's back, and he just has like 10 days to be back in Coruscant or something. Mm-hmm. And the book takes place in those 10 days or something.
And Anakin's just shattered.
Yeah, Anakin's just distraught.
He thinks he's fine, but he's totally shattered.
Maybe seeing like the innocents that droids took out, like in a certain town or city or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Losing a Jedi that died or something in the field.
And it would be another nudge towards Vader, which is always appreciated.
It would be a fun area to add a little bit of life to Padme for Revenge of the Sith, because there's just not a lot like what Adam was talking about, where Adam's wife, is like, I cannot stand like the third film because Padme is given nothing to do. She just wistful, at the viewport on the patio. It's not a good look. It's not a good look it's like backseat, fridged kind of sort of storytelling for that character.
Yeah.
Whereas she could be like running around, she could be doing some of like Attack of the Clones level sleuthing, like Obi-Wan in that third movie.
Yeah.
Well, figuring out Sidious's whole thing. Like I almost don't think Anakin should have figured that out. I almost think Padme should have figured it out. She'd been like, what is corrupting this guy? Like, what is messing with my husband? You know what I mean? Like, that almost would have been the more interesting route, because what you get is just Palpatine just explicitly telling Anakin, like, this has been the plan the entire time.
Yeah, he's like, you want to do some weird stuff? Let's do some weird stuff. Bring people back from the dead? Yeah, we can do that. Whatever. Let's go. Totally. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Speaking of sleuthing, we got Dex in this.
Oh, that's right. Dex.
Grant, how'd you feel about seeing Dex again? No, he's a
so happy to see Dex.
Yeah, very anti-government.
Yeah. Sabe went there.
Dipping into the black market.
Yes.
Here into the black market scheme.
That was a great moment. I forgot about Dex. Yeah, he makes an appearance in this. It's crazy because I just, I just hear the voice from the film, and then I try to read it. I'm nowhere close to it. Like doing it out loud or doing it to myself. And
you're good with accents too, Grant. But yeah, Dex is a tough one.
I want to read a little of Dex quotes because this book was clearly written. Actually, it's published January 25th in Germany. So it had been out for a while. It was held back because of all the, just scheduling stuff. So this predates with the war in Ukraine.
Yes.
Right. This whole thing.
Yeah.
It's a menace, this war. So many things we can't get or are suddenly more expensive. The folks down here are going to notice the pinch long before those in the upper levels consider doing anything about it. Now, I'm not trying to be political. Like, this is not me making a statement about like whether or not what we're doing is right. I mean, yes, free Ukraine, do everything can to help Ukraine, 100%. But it's really interesting that this points to what happens when there's a war, right? Like it affects economies, and it generally affects the working class more than any other class, right? So it's just so fascinating that this was written, and I'm like, and I had to check myself when I was reading that because of everything else that's so prescient in this book to realize, like, oh no, this was written year probably, because as the drafting process happens, a year before this even happened, and we're feeling it now. It's really wild.
That scene's coming back now. I do remember that scene now. Yeah, that was definitely all of that dialogue was definitely reminiscent of what's going on right now. Also, like, I think earlier in the book we learned that like Naboo passed legislation, or I guess spent a huge amount of their budget on like defense and bought like an ion cannon or something, and they're like, oh yeah, we put in an ion cannon. So like, I dare a Trade Federation ship to come back, because like they will use the ion cannon on it. They'll control their airspace. That was cool. I was like, love some of the politics that they get into. So
I bet it was the most beautiful ion cannon you've ever seen.
I know. Like,
the only other ion cannon we see is on Hoth, and it's just
right.
Like,
that's true.
Like, what does it on do? A gimbal.
It's like an EMP, right? It almost like just disables.
It fries electrical. It shuts down electrical,
and then the whole cruiser will just be downed and crash.
That's how the convoys get away.
Yeah, that's a good start for your defense bill. Just like, let's got to get an ion cannon.
I even wonder if like the ion cannon we see on Hoth is the one from Naboo.
Oh wow!
They chucked it over there.
Maybe.
That's some deep cut lore just for you.
That'll be You heard it here first. We know where that ion cannon came from.
So probably you can trace. You can probably trace the life of that ion cannon on Wikipedia, but the lake where Anakin and Padme get married is unknown lake. Unnamed, untitled lake. That's unbelievable to me. And
come on, Pablo. Yeah.
Also, that means I guess we have free reign to just name it, right? Let's just name it. We'll just make it. We'll make it let's a portmanteau of our names. Let's figure out how to get ourselves in Star
Star Wars to get our name. All right, Adam, you come up with it right now. What's the name of the lake?
May. What? No, that's bad.
Was that 2 syllables or 9?
I was like all of the syllables.
Gerbenme?
Yeah.
Cocktoast tone.
Wait, what? I think we gotta bleep that.
That's from Fletch. It's the name. It's John Cocktoastone.
Yeah, Naboo architecture is like somewhat Venetian, and then also like San Francisco. I guess convention center, like Marin Convention Center. Rooftop. It's gotta almost evoke.
It's gotta be like Mirabellax or something. I don't know. Yeah.
Tibural.
Okay, there you go.
But it's like Tiburon in that region we're in, but we'll call it Tiburon.
Or Gerbendam.
That's too. I like that.
Gerbendam. I master names together.
Yes, I got it.
You got it? You want me to spell it out? Literally spell it out for you?
Quomotion.
Why don't we stop embarrassing ourselves?
Yeah.
Anything else from this book that stood out?
No. It was great.
Really nothing. I am burning my hyperfuel right now. So yeah, I'm already at 10.
Same. There was I don't know. That was pretty much it. You know, all the plans work together. You should really read it. We didn't talk about the Wookiee spaceship.
Oh my god! Yeah,
the
Wookiee starship.
Yeah,
that
droid and Eba, and then Eba, and then the droid Iffy.
Giffy, technically G1 FY, I think.
Yeah.
That was a funny protocol droid. Good protocol stuff. There was like a moment.
Good Nemoidians, or like the peaceful Nemoidians. Oh, yeah. Good
Nemoidians. Yes, that she goes on to repair the Nemoidian image, which I was like, that is so bold. Like she starts it off where it's like, you know, it feels like it's going to be another mustache twirling Nemoidian. Yeah. And then it turns out he's like, you know what? No, I'm trying to repair her image. That's what leads to the aforementioned temper tantrum by Palpatine. And I thought, I loved that. I love that. It's like, no, there's also good Nemoidians. Deal with it.
Yeah.
It was great.
It's also fascinating.
Sorry.
I was just gonna say, I don't think that storyline connects to anything. Does it connect to anything in Clone Wars? I don't think so, right? Like that's just a hanging storyline that I'm like, yeah. So Grant, there's part of what you can do in the fourth novel.
I'm telling you, there's room for a fourth novel here.
Yeah,
there totally is.
But he's going to get crushed, right? Like, I mean, we see that great the scene with Palpatine and Dooku being like, "Let him live for now. I'm going to crush him later when the crushing will be sweeter." You know, like there's a bit foreboding in probably what happened, you know. But
it's a shame like Padme doesn't get to like sneak in, like, you know, the industrial sector of like Coruscant where like Palpatine, like I guess, and Tyrannus meet. I kind of like. It'd be cool if someone found that area. Like, you know how Yoda has those visions in the end of Clone Wars where he's like in that area?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I wish someone had snuck there in the Revenge of the Sith. Like, I wish someone had like, discovered that secret lair, you know, because they just go to his office and it's like, oh, he's at work and it's after hours.
Right. Yeah. Not in there. That is very true.
Got to lock the doors.
There was also a very weird, let's say, real life connection. So Iba, the Mariss. So I didn't get a chance to put this on our Discord, but there's one like glaringly new species that's brought into the story, and it's this Mariss engineer on this Wookiee starship. And Iba, right, is the name?
Yeah,
of the Mariss, right? So it's essentially the species is a slightly evolved flightless bird. So imagine a dodo in a like flight suit. And it's an amazing character, always causing trouble, hates the droid because reasons like. But so she's singing a song, and she said it's something about like there's 2 quotes about it, 2 lines. The first one, I was like, huh. She's like, it's a catchy tune about a predator fish. And I was like, huh. And then the second time, she's like, she turned back to her work already singing that song about the fish again. And then it was like, and I have to admit, it's a very catchy tune. She was singing Baby Shark.
Oh. I should have 100% gotten that, since literally I was hearing that song
like 5 seconds ago.
4 hours ago.
But how is that about the fish?
Because it's a predator fish, and I was like,
Yeah.
that's so weird.
Okay.
But it's
That's a baby
catchy
reference.
tune.
That's a Baby Shark reference. It's 100% what that is. That's amazing.
And she's like,
Yeah.
Baby Shark, yeah. Sorry about that. Or
I
don't
have
do
to
it.
sing
Don't
that.
do it. Don't do it.
No, it's fine. I have to sing that. I have to sing that to my daughter. It's the only song she'll listen to now at bedtime. And she, at the end of every verse, she has to tell me the new name of the person I'm going to fit into the next verse. It's adorable and infuriating, which is having a 2-year-old. It's adorable. Yeah.
Oh, that's
it's very cute.
It's very cute.
Yeah, that's hilarious. I can't
I
believe I
didn't
missed
think
that.
that song was still in the zeitgeist.
Oh, it is 100%. They still do it at daycare. Yeah. It's never
Really?
going away.
You'll never
Yep.
stop that song.
It's
like
took and
Thriller.
now
It's there forever. It's never going away. And there's even a Sesame Street version that's super popular named Cookie Shark. It's a whole thing.
Wow. You know,
Yeah.
we've really come full circle.
What happened? Where are we?
I blacked out a minute there. Anyways, this was Queen's Hope by E.K. Johnston. It was fabulous. Please go read it. It will bring joy to your life and expand the galaxy in really surprising ways. Even if you've listened to all of the weird things we've randomly compiled for you in this episode, it's wild. It's wild. And there's a lot of fun stuff. The POVs, all the storytelling, like I really felt like I was watching the like unfilmed prequel movie, like episode 2.5 or whatever.
Yeah.
And it was, it like written beautifully, and you were really like in it. Everything made sense. You could see these stories happening.
Lots of dresses and clothing described.
Yeah. If you're into Project Runway, you will love this book. It really gets into all of the dressmaking. So there you go. Next week we will have another episode talking about Star Wars. Beyond that, we're gonna have to shuffle through some ideas. But we're all sort of heading towards Kenobi right now. That's gonna
and
Star
celebration.
Wars.
Woo!
Yeah, it's gonna be a big weekend. So everything we do is gonna be kind of leading up to that. But there's so much great Star Wars content out there that we can cover and talk about, and it makes me very happy. So thanks very much for listening to us this week. We will talk to you next week. And as always, may the Force be with you.
This is Grex Kondak signing off. For the latest breaking news, follow @CoreWorldNews on Twitter and Instagram. Thank you and good night.
Remember, the Force will be with you, always.